Speaking of really good band names, this is called the One About Godzilla Movies. And this is our podcast about Godzilla movies, as you might expect. You also know this is episode 34. We're cranking along through the Millennium-era.
Dude, we've only got 4 movies left, including this
4?
one. Yeah.
Isn't there less than that?
Including this one. There's like 3 more to watch. Right?
You sure?
3 more in
Isn't
the
there like
Millennium-era? Yes, 3 more in the Millennium-era.
The last one's Final Wars, right?
Yes.
If I recall correctly from looking at the list.
Yes. Yeah, it is 3 more, and I know that because there's there's a little point here in my by the way, I have I've got the TLDR for us today. I've got a TLDR I would like to
nice.
Whenever we get there. I'm sorry. We've derailed the derail.
Using this "we" very liberally.
Excuse me. I was correct in saying how many movies we have left.
You were correct. So we've just
episode 34. We're just plugging right along.
We just talked for a good 23 minutes to our Patreon subscribers about a number of things, and
including a car from a land of castles and bald tires and
there's no castles in Azerbaijan, but
is there
a land of sand might be accurate. I'd say sand and mountains and Persian architecture. Anyways, if I seem rushed during this episode, you'll wonder why. And you can find out if you go to patreon.com/the One About Godzilla Movies and watch the extended version of this episode. However, today we're talking about Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, which is no, we're not going there. Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which is from the year 2001. I haven't had a lick of caffeine. This is just how I am.
I didn't say anything.
What happens in this movie?
Yeah, so
give us the old rundown.
Gojira, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Daikaiju, Sogo. Dang it! I practiced this for so long earlier. Daikaiju, Sogokeki.
In the mirror.
Sokogeki. So here's another. This is like another continuity reboot to the series. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which I will from here on out just be calling GMK. Because that's kind of what is canon and what is in the parlance. That's just kind of how everybody abbreviates it and what it's kind of talked about. So GMK is directed by, of note, the Gamera trilogy's director, Shusuke Kaneko. So when I read that earlier today, I was like, oh crap, I need to watch the Gamera trilogy because we've talked about it before. My friend Nisa has asked when we were going to do that, and I still think I need to do a separate show of Gamera films. But anyways, so TLDR on GMK. When Godzilla returns to seek revenge on Japan for all of the souls lost during the Pacific War, World War II, the mystical Professor Hirotoshi Isayama awakens the 3 guardian monsters to stop them, or to stop Godzilla: Baragon, Mothra, and Ghidorah. As Godzilla makes his way to Tokyo, Japan must place its hope in the guardian monsters to triumph over the god of destruction before he can enact his terrible vengeance. And this movie proved to be such a box office hit that it convinced Toho to commit to 3 more films in the Millennium series. Like shortly after it came out in theaters, they were like, okay, we're gonna do 3 more. So
wow,
yeah.
So he did the next 2? No,
not the same director, but they Toho said, okay, we're gonna do more. Like we're
movies with you.
Yeah, we're going. Well, no, just in general, the Millennium. Like they were like, we don't know. They hadn't committed to any more Godzilla movies after this one, and
that's why every single one is a one-off.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And instead of doing what they traditionally do, and what we kind of saw them do even with -1, was they waited to see how it did at the box office and then committed to another movie. But instead of just one movie this time, this one did so well that they said, okay, we're going to do 3 more. Like, not necessarily in continuity or anything, but just like, we're like, this is going so well right now that we're not going to like, we're just going to go for it kind of thing.
I am seeing in my notes like a lot of box office success.
Yeah.
From this guy. Which makes sense. This is objectively a great movie, I feel.
Dude, I love this movie.
So much so that there were moments where I wasn't as focused as I wish I'd been watching this movie, and I'm confident I'll watch this one again sometime.
It is definitely worth a rewatch, for sure.
Yeah. So much so that my notes are just kind of bad.
Well, that's good because I have
a number of reasons.
But I have a bunch of them, and so like you can do your bit, you can we'll go quickly through yours, and then I can do mine, and then we'll do our deal and get out. So,
well, this is a record for me, but I only have 2 things written down in my stuff I would change.
Amazing.
I know.
Amazing, dude.
The day. I mean, I bet I could find some stuff on a rewatch, but I was, drawn into the movie more than past movies. And my notes of things I liked just doesn't really represent the full breadth of the movie. There's just like bursts of thoughts that I wrote down in specific moments of the movie, and then just large gaps where I wasn't writing down anything. And there were probably things. I mean, there were things that I liked throughout the whole movie for sure. But
yeah. In kind of thinking about all of these movies and everything, I think this would be the first movie I would show somebody if I was going to show somebody Godzilla.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it.
Not the best, but the first movie I would show them for sure. Like, it's up there for best Godzilla movie, but I just think it does a really great job of all of the tones of the of like everything. There's just like a little bit of, to not spoil anything, it feel like there's a little bit of every kind of feeling of Godzilla in this movie. There's little bits of funny. There's little bits of like sad and what have we done to ourselves. There's all this like terror and anger. There's like, it kind of just goes through all of it. So
sweet. Well, why don't you walk us through kind of like the plot, and then I'll chime in where applicable.
Okay. Cool. So
I think it'll be obvious where my notes line up with the story.
Yeah. We kind of start with an explosion for some reason, and right? Doesn't it just kind of open with like I don't know, they do some weird like big title screen thing anyways, but the movie actually kind of like plot wise, pardon me, I was just drinking sparkly water. Plot wise, the movie
Sparkly water?
Sparkling water. My daughter calls it spicy water or spicy juice.
Wait till she's 21.
Talk about spice. So we open in a basically like a college classroom setting, but it's the Japanese Defense Force, Special Defense Force, room full of cadets, and this guy speaking to them about the greatest threat that they've ever faced, Godzilla in 1954, and how he's really just about the only thing that the JSDF has ever had to like really fight against since its like formation after World War II. This is the first dig at the TriStar Matthew Broderick Godzilla. The Admiral warns that like even though this creature, even though we were able to defeat Godzilla, the military needs to be prepared. He says that like recently a giant monster attacked New York City who was similar to Godzilla. They just kind of like make a point to like say something about that. And then the dude, like, he gets some dude barges in, says, "Sir, we've got this for you." He's got orders to like leave immediately. And they're called to the wreckage of I believe it's an American, submarine. And they're called to like kind of like try and find it and see if they can figure out what happened. And we see huge claw marks on the hull. And all of a sudden, one of the these like they're these little like kind of like 1 or 2 person submarines, like submersible little like they call them the Satsuma. So all of a sudden, like they're like getting like rocked about and explosions, and one of the crafts like crashes and explodes, and the other one we just kind of catch a glimpse of some really huge glowing dorsal fins. You get
and
3
by the way,
guesses
during
at
the
who
scene,
that is, and the first 2 don't count.
Well, they're playing the Jaws theme.
Yeah.
At this moment in the film, literally. They went for it, and I was like, "Let's go!" You just stole the Jaws theme. No one's mad about it. Not even Steven Spielberg or John Williams are mad about it.
Bum, 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 bum. It would have been cool for them to go from
one to the other.
Yeah,
totally could. The music is intense in this movie. There's like a lot of dynamics.
A lot of dynamics.
Like
I noticed
dramatic.
Synthesizer too. Like it's like orchestral and stuff, but there's some guitar in there, and there's like a lot of like bass synth, or just like the like stuff that blends in with violins or whatever, but it just kind of beefs everything up. I noticed that. I loved it, dude. Music is really great.
So I had written down. I respect what the opening scene with the JSTF guy is doing for his character a little bit. But it is obviously the role of that scene is to explain to the audience the context this movie is coming into relative to 1954, that movie. So it seems a little bit like,
as you know,
just
Bob,
a lot of expository, like explain to the audience, rather than I feel like you could have caught the audience up maybe a different way than just telling them all the things. That's like maybe one thing that I would have changed. For instance, I think it was the last movie where they like kind of went through sort of like a video montage where they were showing these different things that happened. And
well, no, they reshot stuff to make it look like 54.
yes, but my point is they followed like, the adage of show don't tell in the last movie.
Yeah. It wasn't
in this
just like
scene. They just told us.
Yeah, it wasn't even stock footage. It was we went back and like used the new suit to recreate these scenes that look like 54, which is really great.
Yeah, and that was cool. I think that's a good way to do it. I didn't like just sort of explain to the audience. Yeah. I think that was one of the weakest moments in the film, in that first scene. But whatever.
I agree.
Kind of a lame opening.
Yeah, I'm glad that was probably like the lamest part of the film, and I almost wonder if it wasn't like maybe not how they intend, like how the director intended to do it, and maybe Toho was like, "Hey, you can't just."
Maybe they ran out of money.
No, not even that they ran out of money, but like the next scene to me feels like it should be the first scene of the movie. We should be introduced to Yuri before we meet her father.
I could see that.
Yuri ends up being like the main character. We care about her dad and all that kind of stuff, but like
she's in front of the camera a lot.
Exactly. Like literally, but also then like in the movie as well, she's in front of the camera a lot. So like sidebar, I know we'll get there, but that whole deal where she just got her freaking Sony Handycam or whatever that is, and like single cable down to whatever, like
on like a bicycle or something.
Yeah, but it's just like
bike?
very very early, because they were like, we need an internet connection. Like she was like somehow, I don't know if that's real tech or if that was just like, hey, we're going to throw some buzzwords of like the net and internet in here or whatever, that she was just like essentially broadcasting video back to the station from her bicycle and these things in her like backpack or whatever. And like, I just thought that was really cool. Very, yeah, I don't know. It was a cool little like sci-fi moment that didn't feel like oh, here's all this space tech. It was just kind of like, bam, plug it in, boom, go. All right. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought that was a cool moment. So Yuri is this girl who is like we come up on her filming a fake documentary about this monster that supposedly lived at the bottom of Mount Miyoko. Some people who must work for the mountain or groundskeepers or something. Oh no, it's the notes here say Yuri and her film crew are approached by the mayor of a local village, who tells them to stop
Some guy runs up and he's like, "Hey,"
he's like, "You didn't tell me that
you said this was going to be real."
Yeah, this is a real documentary. You didn't tell me you're going to be doing stuff about monsters or blah blah blah.
Well, it's because they were, faking. They were faking things in the background of the shot.
Yeah, she had some dudes like throwing rocks out into the woods behind her, and like, what was that? So they were like hamming it up for sure. And really all of that is just to kind of like establish a character who is going to be intrigued by the monsters that she's about to just kind of like discover. She's got a track record. Like her father is, I guess they had to make that connection to her, but like, or her father or whatever, but like her dad is part of the the JSDF's anti-Godzilla force or whatever. And, yeah, so it's this kind of like, not quite Romeo and Juliet or something, but just like, I'm doing something that maybe my father doesn't quite like that I'm doing or something. And it's kind of like opposite of his career or whatever. So, she eventually is like introduced to this dude who is like a novelist, and he brings her this legend involving 3 guardian monsters that were that defended Japan in ancient times. And they get her back to her house. She's drunk. Her dad gives that dude the 3rd degree, blah, blah, blah. I guess that same night isn't like somebody driving, and these like dudes on motorcycles all like roll up on them or whatever, and then they go on to like this truck driver or whatever, and they're like just like a bunch of like hooligans
like ransacking a place.
Yeah.
Or something.
Oh, that's right. They go in and ransack this place.
Gas station or something.
Yeah, they rob a gas station. They knock over we see them knock over a statue. The film makes a point to show that multiple times because we're going to be introduced to these guardian monsters, and the movie is about how like people were just kind of terrible, and so yeah, they knock over this like ancient looking kind of statue thing. They're hooligans on Kawasaki motorcycles. They're bothering some dude in like a box truck who's just trying to do some deliveries overnight. And they zoom in front of him into this tunnel, and then all of a sudden the tunnel collapses, and the truck driver like slams on the brakes, and we just see this huge like red monster thing go by. Next morning, next scene is next morning, the JSDF is there, and they're using these cool missile things to like, these missiles that like shoot into the rock, and then
it looks like a rock slide. They're like trying to clear it up.
Yeah, essentially. Well, it's because the tunnel collapsed, and they're trying to clear that out. And so it's like these crazy like missiles. They shoot into the rock, and then have like a twisting, like boring mining bit on them that like bores into the rock and then explodes to kind of, get everything out of the way. It's kind of a cool concept. And yeah, so there's all of that going on. And then we cut to this lake named Lake Akita that is mentioned in the Legend of the Guardian Monsters. And we see a group of teenagers being teenagers, ransacking another place, being really terrible to a dog. They like nail a dog into a box and are going to go drown it in a lake, in Lake Akita. And as they're going out,
they're bad guys. And that's what bad guys do.
Because they're just teenagers being idiots. And like, yeah, I don't know. That whole scene is just kind of like, I don't know. I'd find another reason for them to go out on a boat into the lake.
Put a different group of people.
Well, yeah, I mean, even it's like, hey, we just went and ransacked this place. We just got all these snacks and all this booze, and now we're drunk and being idiots. And hey, let's go out into the water. You don't need to be like, hey, this dog is dumb. Let's put it in a box and drown it. Like, I get it that they're supposed to be terrible people or whatever, but like,
It's the 80s.
Yeah, it is the 80s. That is a very 80s. Except for it's
definitely set in 2002. I think it's supposed to be set in.
Well,
but as we know, not
are
everything
going to make the 80s look like the 60s. So all of a sudden, their boat is attacked or flips over, and we get Mothra larva up out of the water.
Yeah, and it like rises up, and there's like this sort of this big wave, and it's just like the head of a Mothra larva.
Yeah.
But it's like all dark, and the larva looks like it's jet black instead of brown.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And what I wrote down was evil Mothra ? I had just at that moment in the movie, that's what I wrote down.
Just
I was
wasn't sure, like not clear what everybody's like.
Yeah. If Mothra goes metal,
was going to be. Yeah.
Moth the Goth title?
No.
Rejected.
Vetoed. And the next morning we've got the normal cocoon stage of Mothra turning from larva into Mothra.
Well, I think they
and then she puts
a cocoon-like thing. We don't see that till later. It's just mentioned.
Well, no, it's there when they go to because the teenagers' bodies are found in another smaller cocoon. There's like a split, like a very small.
Yeah, they're like talking about almost like a news thing, like, hey, like 7 bodies or something were found, and they're like wrapped up in a cocoon-like substance.
Yeah.
We don't really see it till a little bit later. It's just kind of talked about.
That's true.
It looks like a giant peanut, like a white peanut.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why it's like peanut shaped instead of like cocoon shaped. Should just be kind of one long cylindrical cocoon thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it look like Mr. Peanut?
Because they could.
Why not put a monocle on it? Sorry, that's so American of me. Continue.
Title. So that happens. We've got Yuri, who is now like really worked up about this whole legend thing, and gets news about this like strange old man who's been detained for quote unquote defacing shrines. Yuri meets with the old man, who claims that Godzilla will soon be coming back to seek horrible vengeance upon Japan for all the atrocities committed by the nation during World War II. He says that there are no weapons that can stay Godzilla, just the 3 guardian monsters. Perhaps they can defeat him. And here is another dig at the TriStar Godzilla movie, because they start zoomed in real close on the old dude's face and him just going, Godzilla! Godzilla! And there's that moment in the 99 film with like the footage that leaks of the old man, and they're holding the fire in front of his face, and he just goes, Gojira. And it's a VHS tape that they're watching that from in the TriStar movie. So it's just like a little. I am going to talk about this a whole lot later, but there are so many little moments in this movie, and I have to believe that they're all like influenced by, I mean, it's the director, but there's this dude that worked on the film. He did storyboarding for this film and some special effects work. His name is Shinji Higuchi, and we've mentioned his name before. I'm not going to get into it now, but like little tiny bits of things like that are, I feel like, his influence. Not completely, but he had a large amount of influence, and I'll explain all that later. This was the rabbit hole that I mentioned that I went on, dude, because like,
okay, sure. So this is kind of the first time we're introduced to this idea of like Godzilla is like almost animated by a bunch of vengeful spirits kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's the first time that he's a supernatural force instead of something that is like a mutated, already existing organism. You know what I mean?
The same with the other monsters sort of being billed as like, Earth's protectors. Like the legend of the Guardians. Like we've entered like a mystical, mysterious territory that I think really works for like grounding the idea of kaiju.
Yeah.
I think it's a really unique angle that we haven't seen a whole lot. Maybe you want to count like some of the Mothra priestesses thing. That's maybe the closest.
Yeah, the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy definitely brought some of that feel to this.
But the tone of this, for a good bit of the movie, it has like this really mysterious, investigative tone. Like, oh, we discovered this legend. Like, oh, what if this was true? We found this old book. There's like this. There's a prophecy. There isn't a prophecy, but it's like, there's a story that's been told, and there's this idea that the legend will come true, and then it becomes real. And like that's sort of like a template that we see in a bunch of popular and well-loved movies from the last 30 years. Like that kind of a thing. And I think it really works well in this kaiju world. It's one of the reasons I really like this film. So, I don't know. This is just in my notes. I don't know where it happened, but there was a sort of like a board meeting happening with like the JSDF guys. And this, I don't know if this is the first time they brought it up, but this guy makes a joke about like, man, why doesn't Godzilla go bother other countries?
Yeah.
Why is it always Japan?
Yeah.
I just thought that was so funny. Like addressing that concept, like in the movie, in a movie.
Yeah,
like why have we not talked about this?
Yeah, how
There's
have we
just
done
like
this before? It's just like, hey.
Yeah, like 30 movies where it's just like Godzilla is just only attacking Japan for some reason, even though he could go anywhere. I mean, sure, he touched China, whatever, but like finally someone's addressing it.
Yeah.
And it's just like a little joke, but I appreciated that. He seemed a little self-aware.
Yeah, it like learning who this director was, and then like noticing all of this kind of stuff today has made me want to watch the Gamera movies like immediately. Like I need to watch the 3, and they were the 30th anniversary. No, never. Makes me want to like watch them because from what I've been reading, he brought like the first Gamera movie that ended up landing him this job is called Gamera Guardians of the Universe. And so he was just like, all right, we're going to do this guardian monster thing for Godzilla too. And he brought a lot of Gamera feel to the Godzilla universe. And that is all of that like spice is what makes this movie feel so like so good.
So did you
because of his
did you
team.
go on this deep dive before you rewatched it?
No.
After?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just like thinking back over it and noticing.
Well, it was like as I watched it today, because I finished it today. I started it Sunday night.
Okay.
Or Saturday night, and then finished it today. And then like pulled up the Wikizilla about it and started reading and was like, it was like first Godzilla film directed by this guy, and I clicked on his name and then was like, oh my goodness, he did this and this and this, and it was like storyboarding by this guy and his name was already like purple, like I'd clicked on his name before and was like, oh wait, yeah, it's this dude, and I was like, oh my gosh.
All right, so we'll save it for the trivia then.
Yeah, it's
cool.
It's intense for sure.
So what point do we get to like they cut to this island that these people are on?
So
it's not too long after this, I think.
Yeah, Godzilla comes ashore on the Bonin Islands during a typhoon. and just causes like a bunch of destruction. The JSDF is made, alerted of it immediately, basically, and begins searching for Godzilla around Japan and like, where is that? Kind of the Philippines, maybe, or like, wherever the Bonin Islands are. Yuri visits her dad to tell him about the guardian monsters. He's like, no. But then he starts thinking about his childhood when Godzilla was there. And starts thinking about how like he lost both of his parents in that attack, and he's still haunted by memories of Godzilla. And because his daughter was telling him about how like Godzilla's made by the souls of these people that were, that died. And like,
yeah, there's a moment where he's sort of recounting his experience in 1954.
Yeah.
And there's like kind of a cool flashback scene. It's in color, of course. They could have made it black and white. I feel like that would have been better, but
yeah.
And it didn't show Godzilla or anything. It was just like people kind of running through the street, and it was showing like his experience running in such a disaster.
Yeah.
I really liked that moment. I don't know if that was here or a little later. But I got the sense there's a couple moments where, what's her name? Is it Yuri, his daughter? Where she's trying to sell her dad on something, and it doesn't really seem like he's buying it. But then like very shortly after, with like his, with his troops or with his people, he's like clearly taking what she said seriously, even though he wouldn't admit it to her face.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a typical dude thing, I feel like. Not uniquely Japanese. Where am I in my notes here? So
Island?
Yeah, so he destroys that island. They are now like, oh my gosh, Godzilla is actually back. Like, it's been confirmed now.
Confirmed. It was a very brief island scene, but it was, I think, significant. So there were people just hanging out there playing ping pong in this place in an island. Yeah. There's sort of like a mention of, there's these photos on the wall. We're like, what are those?
Yeah, the scene's really great.
They're black and white photos from the initial island attack in 1954. And I think it's supposed to be like the same island, but it's literally like almost still frames from the original movie framed on the wall.
Is the name of the island. Yeah.
And then like, of course, like it gets attacked and the building is destroyed.
This is the first time I noticed it in this movie, because it's the first time we had like a real like, it's because Godzilla is walking, but this is the first time I think we've had where like the camera shakes and things around shake and move.
Stuff is like falling off the wall. Violently falling off the walls. Moving. You could see like the whole room moving. Like they had to have built a set that they could shake somehow.
And like everyone
looked awesome.
It's amazing, dude. So great.
And then we have what I've marked here as a Jurassic Park toilet moment. The guy who's trying to piss in a urinal, and then it starts shaking. He's just like missing everywhere. And then he like runs over and like slides open the door, and then like you could see his eyes go wide as he like sees it. And then there's like this crazy zoom out, and then just a foot just crushes the entire bathroom. Just crushed. It's clearly homage to like Jurassic Park and like the toilet moment. Mm-hmm. I thought it was funny.
So we go from giant footstep killing everybody in this little house on the island to the JSDF talking about it, Yuri talking to her dad about the guardian monsters, and there's also this like whole like earthquake thing going on, and they're like the epicenter is moving, and we're not really sure what that's all about. And then we cut to a thing that is actually a real place in Japan, the Aokigahara Forest. Have you ever heard of this? No. It's a place where, unfortunately, like it's a culture thing, but like it's a place where people go to commit suicide. It's like it's something that is the name of the forest, but like, yeah.
And we're meant to believe that's the forest in question.
Aokigahara. And so then this dude is in that forest near Mount Fuji, and he's attempting to hang himself with his tie.
Yeah, he like lays one of the guardian stones like on its side to like stand on.
Yeah, ends up being, spoiler alert, ends up being Ghidorah's guardian stone. And he's kept from successfully hanging himself because all of a sudden the floor, like the ground breaks
Just
out from
drops
underneath him, and he drops into this cave that is like frozen. So we're at the base of Mount Fuji. And he notices like what he thinks is 3 individual monsters, dragons, like frozen in the ice. And just these giant heads. You can kind of make out the faces through the ice. I thought that whole cave was pretty cool. This
is one of those moments where I was like, dude, there's so many things in this movie that inspired the Monsterverse. Mm-hmm. Like we see this in, I think, King of the Monsters, where there's sort of like a whole like icy wall
comes out of Mount
thing.
Fuji. No, he's in the Antarctic. That's what it is. He's in the Antarctic.
It's a different spot, but like visually, the same idea is being explored.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So he just happened to discover it.
He finds it. He goes to the police. He's trying to tell them, and they're like, "Yeah, whatever, dude. Like, sure."
Yes. What I wrote down was what I've titled here: "The Guardian Monster Suicide Hotline." Title. And
with that, we'll pause here for station identification. We get this dude that's trying to commit suicide, finds Ghidorah frozen at the bottom of Mount Fuji. He tries to go to the police. They don't believe him. And then all of a sudden we get earthquake and then Godzilla.
Also, at some point around here, it's Baragon, right?
Right. So at the same, so we get earthquake and Baragon emerges. Yeah, this is just before Godzilla shows up. So Baragon emerges, crushes the police station, frees the mysterious old man, who then just all of a sudden goes to Mount Fuji immediately, but we figure that out later.
There's a really nice moment of Baragon's eye being framed by a window and him just like blinking.
Yes.
It's like a really nice little moment.
Yeah. That's
showing
him
scale.
Coming up to the window of the police station and they're like in the
like
jail cell or something. He's just like,
you see a blink.
Hey, what up?
I have a question. Have we seen Baragon in a previous film? Am I just like forgetting? Or is he just from other kaiju properties?
He's from other kaiju properties. We've heard the name before.
Okay.
There is what is it?
He seems to kind of tunnel underground and stuff.
Frankenstein versus Baragon is a movie. But yeah, anyways, he gets his time to shine here as one of the 3 guardian monsters. So he's the first one to show up. He pops out of the ground and just kind of starts making his way downtown, walking fast, faces past. He's homebound.
I can do an impression. I could do an impression of Baragon in this movie. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Baragon upon seeing the title of the movie that he's in. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey. That was my impression of Baragon.
This is Baragon if he was an owl.
This is Baragon realizing he was not listed in the billing for this movie.
Who? Yeah,
like, hey,
as one of the 3
Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah.
Yeah,
the 3 movies.
3 guardian monsters.
Also, and Baragon's in this movie.
But also Baragon. Yeah,
but also Baragon's in this movie.
But also he's new
for a good bit of the movie too.
Nobody cares. Which is not like, it's not that nobody cares, dude. Baragon is like because of this movie, he is like one of the most well-loved kaiju. Like people love Baragon's the best. He's a cool little dude.
The back catalog got a boost.
Yeah. Well, and he's in all the video games going forward. There were a bunch of
streaming
video
numbers
games.
Are out of this world.
Yeah, it's over 9,000. There were a bunch of like
the Spotify Wrapped is popping.
Bunch of like fighting, Mortal Kombat style Godzilla video games that came out around this same time too. And Baragon was we had a couple of them, and Baragon was always a blast to play.
Did he dig underground or something?
Huh?
Or no?
Yep. dig underground.
So it's like he's a mole,
super
but it doesn't look like a mole.
Just yeah, exactly. Like just kind of go get him, kind of thing. So he's just kind of like crashing through stuff, very obviously on a mission. They don't know what he's doing yet, but then Godzilla pops up.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
We're talking harbor, water. There's like a fishing boat.
And the moment where this movie says, "Hey, TriStar, this is how you do it." Reveal. This is how you scare some dudes fishing. Because it's the same thing.
It's like close-ups. It's a close-ups on a boat, and they're just like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Because like you would just see like the level of the boat is just like, it's like this, and it's like this, and like what's happening, and like this tsunami level wall of water just slowly rises.
And they cut to the two dudes standing there fishing, and the one goes, "Hey!" He can't even he doesn't even say words. He's just like, and then it's wall of water. Like
literally, it's like I've got a GoPro. I'm laying on the ground, and you're standing over me. Like that's the angle.
Yeah.
That we're getting.
Incredible.
Just all the way up. Absolutely massive.
Nothing can stop me.
Did not skip leg day. All that.
And talk about a redesign for Godzilla. We've got
yes.
This face.
It's mostly the face. The rest of him's kind of the same.
On it, man. Yeah, he's big, chunky. The biggest thing is skin. They make a big deal of it throughout the movie. How his skin is like impenetrable. We go back to this kind of like scaly, gravelly, bumpy, gray charcoal, kind of like forged out of pain kind of thing, and not so much like.
But it's the eyes, man.
Yeah, it's the eyes. It's the shape of it's like the eyebrows, the shape of it.
Yeah, and he can like frown.
54. It's like 54, but with a slightly longer snout and the like snarly teeth, the like fangs, dude. But the dead white.
Milky white, baby.
Milky white, zombie, soulless, like haunted eyes, dude. The only way it could have been creepier was like, it made me think of Shin Godzilla, where there's that moment where he sets off the first time they show him about to set off his atomic breath, and the eyes go black completely. They get like the shield that goes over them. That black dead shark look would have looked really cool too. But this like almost dude, like, iridescent, almost
like Bruce
like
the Shark and Finding Nemo.
Exactly. Exactly. Just dead eyes, dude. It's amazing. And it like, in terms of like terror factor, that like
it looks mean.
It brought the terror factor back to Godzilla. Like that, the 54 movie was considered a terror movie, like just at
the time.
Yeah, at the time. Anyways,
heck of an entrance. His design is awesome.
Heck of a design, and then he just marches straight for Tokyo. And it becomes very clear at that point then that Baragon is on his way to intercept Godzilla. And so we get a kaiju fight.
We talk about his first atomic breath.
Well, hang on. We can, yes, but
that's on the way to Baragon, I'm pretty sure.
It's not. It is on the way to Baragon. So Godzilla is like. So Godzilla's come ashore. He's headed for Tokyo. They show him walking, doing his thing, and he there's people terrorizing. Blah blah blah. This lady as he's walking away, she comes out from whatever building she's in and just screams at the top of her lungs. And they cut to Godzilla, and Godzilla stops and looks over his shoulder at her, and then sees all of this chaos going down below him. And this is the first time in the franchise, and maybe even the only time, that we see him target people specifically. And so then we get the first use of the atomic breath. And he begins to glow.
I'm picturing, you see the spikes glow. And then they do this thing, which they do later in other movies, where you see the glowing in the back of the throat and particles
it's like things are being sucked into him, and then
and then it hard cuts to the schoolroom, and you just see a
then
flash.
It cuts to the schoolroom. She's like, "Children, we need to evacuate." And then
it is the
flash.
perfect way to show something without showing it.
Yes,
that is like A+ modern filmmaking, like that kind of a move.
And that it was a different use of his atomic breath because it wasn't a full sustained blast. It was a pop. It was just a like one hit kind of thing. And
the school teacher goes to the window and then they show the perspective and there's like a mushroom cloud going off in the distance.
And she goes, atom bomb. Because they're making that reference. But like I took it as, especially because of it's mostly because of like later films, but they're like, they're trying to show that he has more control over his atomic breath than maybe he has in other movies. I took it as a like, he used it on them, but it was just like a quick one shot, like pulse, like waboom. And they cut to I think it was just a cool way to show it. Like you said, it's a cool way to show, not tell. I loved that there was the flash, a pause, and then the explosion noise and the building rocked. And then she goes to the window and you see the mushroom cloud from the other side of the friggin' city. Like such a cool, like you said, just such a cool use of like, we know what happened, but they didn't show it to us. Like we're going to see this new atomic breath later, but all we saw was the buildup. It was so cool.
Yeah, I love that scene. Big fan. And then Baragon's fighting Godzilla pretty much not too long after he gets there. They start going at it.
Mm-hmm. And
the choreography is just great. Like it's really kinetic. There's like really cool stuff. Baragon keeps like just diving head first off ledges, like a full-on tackle, and it just looks. It doesn't look goofy. It looks real.
And then jump off of things. I had a thought of like, if it like proto Andy Serkis, his name came to mind, or just it was like the team that worked on this movie and that worked on them, like this director and the people that he picked understood movement of things better than we've seen in any Godzilla movie to this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that was just a thought that I had. Like, and like kind of how like Andy Serkis has brought such a like dimension to the way that creatures are displayed in modern film, just through his acting and his like motion capture work and all that kind of stuff.
Through performance capture.
Exactly. Yeah.
As it's called now.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they do some
whole
fighting.
Fight was really cool.
Godzilla, Baragon jumps on him a couple times. At one point, Baragon is like trying to climb up onto a cliff. Godzilla like blasts basically at Baragon's feet and knocks him back down to the ground with his atomic breath. And then he curb stomps him a bit. And then Baragon tries to run away, and Godzilla hits him like second time full on with the atomic blast. And in pretty spectacular fashion, poor little Baragon is just like, he explodes into a bajillion pieces. And Godzilla...
He gets destroyed. There's a cool shot in the middle of that where he like dives at Godzilla. And it's like the second time he like obviously does this. And Godzilla like dodges,
waits,
and then catches him with his tail.
Yeah,
hits him like a home run. He just goes flying. So
some
cool.
Really great tail work in this movie.
Yeah. My notes kind of trail off after that fight. I don't know why. I have a couple of things I noted down.
So like from here, it's basically that they have
a lot of fighting.
This has started. Things have begun. Mothra is obviously on her way eventually. Baragon has just lost this fight. Godzilla is hell-bent on getting to Tokyo and then just like destroying everything. Essentially it's like the JSDF is doing its thing. Mothra shows up. They, Mothra Godzilla fight. Eventually the old man, we get to the old man in the cave at the base of Mount Fuji, and he wakes up Ghidorah by finally like knocking its like statue down on the ice or whatever. And we get the JSDF kind of like setting up a defense line in Tokyo Bay. And yeah, we get Mothra doing her attack. Mothra with the poisonous darts. Those are pretty cool. The poisonous stingers.
Sending them flying.
I thought that was I thought this version of Mothra she got her glow up because of the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy. It wasn't like they just directly copied, but like she got the cool purplish glowing eyes. The design on her wings was a little more edgy, and like, there's like a white border around it with those designs throughout instead of it just being like fully spread. So just a little more like, yeah. Just a kind of a cooler design. She does
Ghidorah's
her thing.
Here by this point.
Ghidorah shows up. Godzilla.
He's really small in this movie. He's smaller than Godzilla.
He's smaller than Godzilla, but then he gets bigger than Godzilla after
Later.
Mothra dies. So what happens is like they're all fighting. Eventually, Godzilla kills Mothra. She explodes into gold dust, as she always does, and that is because Mothra is pure magic and love. And she gets to decide what happens to her when this like explosion happens, which is kind of an interesting kind of thing. Like every time Mothra dies, she explodes into gold dust, and gets to choose what I don't know. It just like something cool happens with the gold dust. Who's making that decision? I think it's Mothra, the spirit of Mothra. While I'm thinking of it, we have an instance where Mothra is in a movie and we do not have twins from an island that are her translator. But
True.
Did you see the nod to that in this movie?
I read about it. Didn't notice it.
It's just a
quick.
It's like when she first arrives on the scene, is about to land on the building, they cut to people running, and it's just these two twin sisters in white t-shirts just kind of like embrace for a second and like look up at the sky. Like the one puts her arm around the other, and they just kind of like look up, and they're twin sisters, and then they and then they on to something else. But like, so she is beaten by Godzilla, disintegrates, and sends herself to Ghidorah. And this power up from Mothra, like, not only gives him more power, but I think we're meant to believe, because we see him like pop up and like wings come out. We get like the CGI is kind of shit, but like, big
CGI Ghidorah is tough.
I am led to believe that this was like him turning into King Ghidorah and is now bigger. Reviving him being because somebody makes a comment about him being revived as the 1,000-year-old dragon.
Yeah, they say that right as that's happening.
Like Yuri was like says it or something. So he is King Ghidorah. He's got a shield now. They're fighting.
So something I love about the design in this movie is all the times we're seeing Godzilla and Ghidorah like facing off, and there's kind of like the lightning going on from Ghidorah, both the smaller version and then later iteration. There's like this green lighting that it's sort of flashing alongside the light. Like the lightning isn't green.
No,
it's like gold or whatever.
On the
but like there's
edges.
There's like there's like there's like green spotlighting that's sort of like pulsating along with all the energy that's happening, and you see that at a bunch of moments. But there's something really iconic looking about it, and it also seems to light Godzilla in those moments in such a way that makes him look more lizard-like. Like it makes his skin look green.
Yeah.
There's something about that color work that is really great.
Yeah.
Like, I really like it. It was an obvious like design or a creative decision to like have this green light be a part of those clashes. It like stood out from the rest of the moments. So it was a obvious. They obviously chose to do that specifically. I don't know why, but it looked really cool.
Yeah.
There's also, I don't know when during all these clashes, there's a scene of like, it looks like comets falling from the sky almost as a shot. There's like dark silhouette buildings, and then there's like these just chunks of flaming debris falling in the background. And then there's this is a really cool shot, man. There's just this giant chunk comes in the foreground and just demolishes this house.
Yeah.
It is a silhouette until it gets hit, and the whole thing just goes like. That's like one of those special effects miniature shots. I was like, oh man, that one was worth the effort. Mm-hmm. I don't remember when that happened, but that one shot was really cool.
Yeah, there's so many cool little moments like that, and it's not all. I just like I said before, I see Shinji Higuchi especially. Like his little touches all over this, especially because of other stuff that he's the he did Shinji Higuchi. We're late enough in this, and now I can reveal it. Shinji Higuchi is he did storyboarding on this movie. He worked on a bunch of Ultraman stuff. He was storyboarding and special effects for the Gamera reboot. But he also did all of the special effects for Neon Genesis Evangelion, and is the co-director of Shin Godzilla with Hideki Anno, who is also the creator of Neon Genesis. So he, from what I can tell from the reading that I've done this afternoon on Wikizilla, between the director Shusuke, how do you say his last name? Shusuke Kaneko, and then Shinji Higuchi, they're the ones that kind of started to bring in this idea of like micro details and lore and care, especially about like calling back to past films and maybe like little threads of things throughout that are really, really cool.
Like an homage.
Yeah, homage, obsession over small things. Yeah. So essentially the way that this, like the fight ends here and the way that they end up like quote unquote beating Godzilla is that King Ghidorah kind of gets Godzilla with this like ball of energy, and it catches him in the shoulder. And that ball of energy also just kind of like blasts him out of the city into Tokyo Bay. And then Ghidorah follows him into the bay. And at this point, Yuri's father, Commander Hiroshi, says that him and this other guy are going to take these submersibles from the beginning of the movie, the Satsumas, and they're going to put two of these missiles on them, the ones that they used to dig out the mountain.
Like the rock slide.
Yeah. And they're going to hope that they can hit Godzilla in the wound on his shoulder and blow him up that way.
And they identify the wound by switching to like a heat map view
to thermal imaging. Yeah. Which pretty cool. Very Predator. So they're underwater, right? They're doing all of this. Godzilla like destroys King Ghidorah so essentially what happens is Ghidorah starts blasting Godzilla with his gravity beams, the lightning bolts. And Godzilla takes some hits of them and then like does his Godzilla thing, discovers a new ability, and just starts absorbing the energy from the gravity beams, and then uses that to make this kind of spiral, really cool wrapped atomic beam that destroys King Ghidorah. Quick note about his atomic breath. I think that I loved the way that it was like like we talked about, like we get the glow in the throat, the particles and things start to come in, and then like when he would do the actual beam, it wasn't just a straight line. It had like a little curve to it. It drooped a little bit, and then there was like, it reminded me of like Ghostbusters proton pack. Like there's a glow on the side of the beam of a different color, lighter blue, whatever. I don't know. It just looked really, really cool. So
yeah, I think we're seeing the application of new things that are possible with
CGI,
digital effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's easy to like make lasers in like, early digital effects. Like it's easy to do that and it looked great. And when you're hand drawing, maybe every frame, maybe you're just sticking to like similar patterns, but now that you're in the world of like 3D compositing, like this that way, like maybe you can just make it curvy instead, or like you can do things that maybe weren't very easy to do before, or maybe it allows you to try new ideas because there's new tools.
So essentially from here, Godzilla destroys King Ghidorah, and then he swallows the commander's Satsuma. He swallows the submersible, and I had a moment of like screaming laughing when that happened, because Godzilla, like, he just into the mouth, swallows him. They show Godzilla close his mouth, burp, little bit of a smirk, and then some like bubbles come out of his mouth. And then we cut to the inside of the submersible. I sat there and laughed so hard when I watched that today. So yeah, he swallows the submarine. The dude like fires the missile. It ends up protruding out of Godzilla's neck, and then Godzilla surfaces to Yuri in Tokyo Bay, who has survived the destruction of the bridge that she was on, trying to watch the fight, and as he charges up to do atomic breath on her, he does it, fires the atomic breath, and it shoots out of this hole in his neck. That was so cool, dude. That was so metal.
And he like pauses like
what?
That's not right.
Yeah, let's try this again.
Yeah. The same thing happens.
Does it again, tries it a third time, falls over, explodes.
There's like this sizzling sound. It like sounds like he's cooking himself or something.
Yeah, it was incredible. And then the Satsuma surfaces. Of course, he made it. Her father gets out. Everybody's happy. Yada, yada, the end. And then we cut to the seafloor and see a disembodied heart that just kind of keeps beating. And we get the main theme. Bum, 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 bum. Pretty great.
Yep. Which they didn't really use a lot in this movie.
No. It was used sparingly.
They saved it for that.
Yeah, and it felt great, I thought. It was really cool to have that be the
yeah.
Here's kind of the rest of the notes that I have on this. Guardian monsters, that nod to Gamera Guardians of the Universe. You talked about that. I think this kind of thing, you said that like this movie brought a lot to the Monsterverse. Ghidorah coming out of this ice cave. I think this is kind of maybe where the idea of calling the monsters Titans in the Monsterverse came from. Like there are these guardian monsters in this movie, and we want to classify them as like they're a breed above apex predator. They're Titans is kind of the logic in the Monsterverse. We talked about this already, but like the camera shaking, especially like when Baragon is like walking around, and that fight between Godzilla and Baragon especially, they do a lot of like camera shaking, and it made it feel so real. And I think that's part of what made all the like emotion of the monsters themselves feel a little bit real, was there's just like so much more motion in general. And we didn't talk about Godzilla before he does the atom bomb, blow these people up. They show him walking by a hospital, and this girl is in her bed with her leg up in a cast and like suspended so she can't move, and she can see him coming, and she's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. Oh my gosh, she's coming. And
trying to move.
And like everything is shaking again. Stuff's falling off the walls, and he passes by, and there's a moment of silence, and she breathes a sigh of relief. And did you see this coming? Did you see what happened? What was coming here? Because I knew it was happening, and I still love it every single time. There's a moment she breathes a sigh of relief, and then his tail smash into the side of the building and just destroys the
tail smack?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Okay, so
that's good. You have a lot of trivia.
Well, yeah. So
some.
Yeah, I mean, this director dude, he did Gamera, he did this Godzilla movie, and then he did 8 episodes of an Ultraman TV show and an Ultraman movie. So he is the only person to have ever directed something in all three of the main kaiju worlds in Japan: Gamera, Ultraman, and Godzilla. They're like the big three. He has worked on some really cool stuff after. Well, it was mostly after all that Ultraman stuff, but like his team, the guy that was like the screenwriter for this movie, Kazunori Ito. He wrote all three of the Gamera movies. He wrote a bunch of 90s Ultraman TV show stuff. But he also wrote the anime. He wrote the screenplay for the adaptation of Ghost in the Shell, which is like a pretty famous anime movie. Yeah, like manga turned into anime. So that happened in 1995. So it was all kind of like pretty quickly. Like he did Ghost in the Shell, then he did like Ultraman, Gamera, Godzilla. Like these guys all were just kind of like this new school of dudes that kind of had been like around the kaiju universe and then just kind of got their shot and really got to like just take a shot at it. Yeah, but this guy Shinji Higuchi has worked on so much stuff that I have watched or have been wanting to watch, and it's kind of cool to see. So that last credit scene sparked a little like conspiracy theory in my head, but I want to just go over some titles that Shinji has worked on. Gamera 2, The End of Evangelion in 1997. He was the director of special effects. He's the director of visual and special effects for Shin Godzilla. Storyboard artist for all of Neon Genesis Evangelion, The End of Evangelion, basically everything Evangelion, he has been the storyboard artist for. This Godzilla movie, both of the Attack on Titan movies from 2015, the like live action adaptations of Attack on Titan, he did storyboard and special effects for. And then he's the director of both of those movies. He's the director of Shin Godzilla. He also directed Shin Ultraman, and then is like kind of randomly in these like he acts in some of the movies that he directs as well. So today, the reason that this was such just like a like huge light bulb for me or whatever was just like the way that these dudes. Oh, two more things. Shinji Higuchi, his first film he ever worked on was a Toho film called Bye Bye Jupiter. Came out in 1984 and is essentially about how the Earth's population has exceeded 18 billion people. We've gone to the solar systems. We've terraformed Mars, but the sun is dying, and it also can't make, like, the sun isn't powerful enough to sustain life on planets farther out in the solar system. So they have this plan to radiate Jupiter and turn it into another sun. And there's some like Godzilla tie-in in this movie. There's some like Godzilla stock footage, some Mothra stock footage. I haven't seen it. I'm just reading this from Wikipedia. Like, I want to see this movie now. So he worked, that was his first movie.
Deep dive.
And then he is the assistant special effects modeler. His second movie, 1984, assistant special effects modeler for The Return of Godzilla. And then he went to work on Ultraman. And then he went to work on Neon Genesis Evangelion. And then he went to work on Gamera. And then he came back to Godzilla. And then he went back to Evangelion. And then he did Attack on Titan. Like, this dude is just living my fantasy. Like, he is responsible for so much of the storytelling and, like, cool, like, Japanese lore that I love. That I have loved from the late 80s to today. This dude is, like, directing,
you found the secret
and
sauce?
Shaping, and like he is the linchpin in all of this, and is in fact the reason that the main character in Neon Genesis is named Shinji, is an homage to him and how much Hideaki Anno like appreciates his work and appreciates the way that he works. Like, the dude is just like, he's the definition of thoughtful. He's the definition of detail and obsession over small things that make storytelling good, in my opinion. Like, that I wish this entire franchise had always. Like, he's born in, like, 1965. Like, if he could have worked on more stuff, I mean, he was 20 years old in the 80s, you know, well, cool. Like, yeah, but still, just like, the dude is a legend, and he's done so much cool work. Yeah, and he's won like several Japanese Academy Awards for his works as well. Like,
what are those called?
The Japanese Academy Awards.
So you would say, I have a Japanese Academy Award?
Yes.
Oh, they don't have a term for it.
I have a Director of the Year prize from the Japanese Academy Awards.
Huh. That's sick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this movie. I want to watch it again.
He's really cool. I want to watch it again, and I cannot wait to watch the Gamera movies. I'm so excited to jump into that. Just from the way that this movie feels and the way that the monsters felt in this movie, I really am excited to see what they did with Gamera. Because the Gamera movies are the reason that they were able to direct this. Like, the Gamera movie got them this job, so it's got to be.
Should we check them out after we finish the last three?
Yeah, we'll do a little
or
bonus.
After we finish, however we're like doing our final episode.
Yeah,
because at some point
there's going to be there are 2 movies in the works right now. Like,
yeah, so we'll definitely have more episodes to record, but we could still do more tangents, and we could say welcome to One About Godzilla Movies, except today we're not talking about Godzilla. We could do that. Just lie.
Yeah, just lie. Whatever. We got to find a way to let it move on.
Would you rate this thing,
dude? 4.5 out of 5, and I would place it up in my top 4 Godzilla movies.
Okay.
Yes. What about you?
It's a 4 out of 5 for me.
Nice.
It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah, we didn't really talk a lot about like production-wise trivia.
Everything was great,
or anything crazy, but it was. If you want to, you can go read on Wikipedia and all that stuff.
There wasn't like a ton of trivia I thought was worth mentioning. I did notice at some point for distribution, Sony proposed calling this in English "Godzilla Must Be Killed."
Interesting.
Which is very concise.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. Just glancing over my notes, make sure I didn't really miss anything. Mothra had the Leo Mothra feel. The other like kind of like rebirth of Mothra moment that I thought was when Yuri is falling off the bridge in Tokyo Bay because of Godzilla's like stray beam that destroys the bridge. She's hanging, and that shard of the thing like falls out of her pocket and starts to glow gold, and that sinks to the bottom, and hits Ghidorah perfectly.
Yeah,
and
and
wakes him up
magically
again.
does something.
Yeah, that felt like Rebirth of Mothra a little bit, like super mystical. We're just gonna do this kind of weird, crazy, what if we did it kind of thing. But like, that's what I'm talking about with the people that worked on this movie. Knowing the other things that they were directly involved in, the anime tie-in, like legitimate, not like legitimizes it, but like just really brings it all together for me and like really makes the feel authentic. It's the secret spice. Yeah, definitely the secret spice. To be told Lemon Tree, do you want to like start another one real quick, or do you want to just like say goodbye?
I don't have anything more.
Okay.
I think it's great, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
Yeah. This has been the one about, oh, dang it. He's gone. I'm just gonna finish it here for us. This has been the one about Godzilla movies. If you would like to see, I'm hoping Brian is still recording. I hope you're still stay recording, and just be pretty. And I'll tell you when to stop. Trust me. You can go to patreon.com/the one about Godzilla movies. You can see the full 25 minutes of what we talked about before we started the movie, and you can definitely see what is going on with Brian here at the end. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. This movie is incredible. If you're gonna start with a Godzilla movie, or if you're gonna pick one to watch, please let it be this one. Okay? All right, see you. Bye.